All right, let's talk about something that, seriously, affects every single one of us. We're going to pull back the curtain and look at how the bad guys get their hands on our most valuable digital keys, yeah, our passwords.
You know, it's a question I bet you've asked yourself, right? Every time you hear about some massive data breach on the news. How do they actually do it? Well, that's exactly what we're digging into today. Their playbook, their methods.
And look, this isn't some minor issue, it's huge. In fact, according to some heavy hitters over at IBM, using stolen credentials isn't just a way hackers get in, it is the #1 way. It's the digital front door they are just constantly trying to kick down.
So to build a solid defense, you've got to understand the offense first. We're going to break down the 5 main plays attackers use to come after your passwords: guessing, harvesting, cracking, spraying, and stuffing. And hey, don't worry, the bad guys already know all this stuff. Our job today is to arm the good guys. That's you. Okay, first up, we've got the most basic method, just plain old guessing. An attacker might use personal info they scrape from your social media, or, and you've seen this, they might get super lucky and spot your password on a sticky note. A little fun fact for you, some folks in the security biz call those PC sunflowers. Kind of funny, right? But this whole guessing game has a big weakness. You know that 3 strikes and you're out rule? Yeah, most systems are going to lock them out pretty fast.
All right, next on the list is harvesting. This is less about being clever and more about just outright theft. So an attacker could slip some malware onto your computer, something called a keylogger, that literally records everything you type. Oof. Or they'll try to trick you with a phishing attack, sending you to a fake login page that looks totally real. And boom, you just hand over your password yourself without even knowing it.
Okay, let's get a little more technical now with password cracking. This is what happens after a hacker has already stolen a whole database of passwords from a company. Now, the super important thing to get here is that those passwords are usually encrypted or hashed. Basically, they're all scrambled up into a bunch of code. The attacker can't just unscramble it, so they have to get creative.
And here's exactly how they pull it off. It's actually pretty clever. They take a super common password, like say password123, and they run it through the exact same scrambling process. Then they just compare their newly scrambled code to the giant list of stolen ones. If they find a match, bingo, they've just figured out the original password, all without ever having to break the encryption. It's like finding the right key by making a copy of a common key and just trying it.
Next up is password spraying, and this one is a really slick twist on the old formula. Instead of hammering one account with a ton of passwords, the attacker does the opposite. They take one really common password, something like winter 2024, and they try it against hundreds, maybe thousands of different accounts. And the reason this is so sneaky is how it avoids getting caught. Because they're only trying one password per person, it flies completely under the radar. It's a low and slow attack that just slips right past those 3 strikes and you're out security measures.
And that brings us perfectly to our next one, credential stuffing. This is the big one, folks. This is the direct result of reusing passwords, and it's why you hear security experts screaming about it all the time. Here's how it works. An attacker gets your username and password from one data breach, say from some old forum you used to use. Then they take that combo and they just stuff it into every other major website you can think of. Your bank, your email, Amazon, you name it. They're just hoping you use the same password everywhere. It's a pure numbers game, and they're betting you have bad habits. Okay, so let's just pause for a second and put these two side by side to make it crystal clear. The key difference is the target. With password spraying, think of it like this. It's one common password against lots of different accounts on this same website. It's like trying one master key on every door in an office building. But with credential stuffing, it's one person's stolen password against many different websites. That's like taking your key and trying it on your house, your car, your gym locker, everywhere. See the difference? Phew, okay. That's a lot of scary stuff, I know. We've seen how they get in. But now for the important part. How do we keep them out? Let's talk about building your digital defense plan. And trust me, it's not nearly as complicated as it sounds. You can really boil down a strong security strategy to just 3 core ideas, 3 pillars. It's prevention, detection, and response. So first, we stop the attacks before they even start. Second, we learn how to spot them if they do happen. And third, we have a plan to shut them down fast. Prevent, detect, respond. Simple. So let's start with prevention, your first line of defense. There are some absolute game changers here. First, think long passwords. Forget all that crazy complexity with symbols and numbers. Just remember, length is strength. A long phrase is way better. Second, please use a password manager. It creates and remembers unique, strong passwords for every single site. You don't have to do a thing. And then there's the big one, the MVP, Turn on Multi-Factor Authentication, or MFA. You know what this is. It's when you need that little code from your phone to log in. It is probably the single best thing you can do to protect yourself online. Seriously.
I love this quote because it just nails the future of security. What's the best way to not get your password stolen? Don't have one. It sounds like a riddle, but it's not. That's the whole idea behind this new thing called passkeys. Instead of a password you have to remember, you just use your phone's fingerprint or Face ID to log in. The security is tied to your physical device, which means there is literally no password sitting on a company's server for a hacker to steal. Game changer.
All right, so what about detection? How do you spot an attack while it's happening? Well, it's all about looking for patterns. For you, on your own account, a big red flag is a sudden burst of failed login attempts. You'll get those emails, right? But for the people running the systems, they're watching for something else. They're watching for that slow, steady trickle of single login failures across a whole bunch of different accounts. And when they see that, that is the classic calling card, the fingerprint of a password spraying attack in progress.
And finally, response. If an attack is actually detected, you have to move fast. The response has to be swift and decisive. We're talking about immediately blocking the attacker's IP address so they can't get back in. You temporarily lock down any accounts that might be compromised while you figure out what's going on. And of course, if a breach is confirmed, you force an immediate password reset for anyone affected. You just cut off the attacker's access, period.
So, we've been through the attacks, we've been through the defenses, but where is all this heading? What does the future look like? Are we just stuck playing this crazy cat and mouse game with hackers forever?
Well, the answer is probably not. The good news is the whole industry is shifting towards a passwordless future, driven by tech like the passkeys we just talked about. They are just fundamentally more secure. Why? Because they replace something you know, your password, which can be stolen, with something you have, like your phone, or something you are, like your fingerprint. And this is the end game. This is how we finally put a stop to pretty much all the attacks we've talked about today.
So I'll just leave you with this one last thought. Now that you know exactly how the bad guys pick the locks, maybe it's time to go check your own digital doors. Are they really as secure as you think they are? Because every little step you take to make life harder for them, well, that's a win for all of us.